Welcome, everybody, to the fourth and unfortunately final show of this year's Women of Fantasy Football event. I'm Joshua Hudson, the founder of Club Fantasy and one of the co-founders here of Women of Fantasy Football. But let's be honest, you are not here to listen to me. You want to listen to Kelly and Faith and our wonderful guests to close out this week's show. We've had some absolutely amazing guests throughout the first 3 weeks. We've given away some absolutely amazing prizes. And more to the point, we've raised a lot of money towards our Women of Fantasy Football GALvanized Scholarship Fund. Can I tell you that by the end of all of this, we're going to be over our $3,000 goal. And I cannot be more excited and grateful to everybody that has donated for a chance to win these raffles, to play in our Women of Fantasy Charity League, the whole 9 yards. So, without further ado, we have Ashley Marie from the Indroppables. We have Jennifer Eakins from 4for4 Football with your hosts, Faith and Kelly. Stay tuned.
Well, hello and good evening to you.
Good evening.
So the way my brain works is I hear something and then it makes me think of something else. And the way I said hello and good evening made me think of the opening of Aladdin. Hello and good evening, worthy friends. Please come closer. It's a whole thing. Anyway, hi.
It was like 60 minutes. Like hello and good evening today.
This is 60 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm Kelly Singh. I just got carried away right there.
I was very into it. I loved it.
We could 100% turn this into like a true crime podcast.
I am so in. That's what I do in my free time. So I am in.
Anyway, to what Josh said, if you haven't been here for the last 3 weeks and you normally watch Josh, Joe, and Ryan on Wednesdays, no pun intended, we are not them. We don't apologize. We're cooler. We're prettier. We're smarter. Don't tell them I said that, but it's the truth. Anyway, I am Faith. That is Kelly. That is Ashley. Welcome to our final episode for 2022 of Women of Fantasy Football, closing it out with a couple of rock stars. Ashley, how are you this evening?
I am good. It's been a busy day, but I'm happy to end it. I have my podcast after this, but this is the perfect start because I could talk about this all day long. So I'm so happy to come on and talk with you guys.
We are so excited to have you. Kelly, how are you today?
I'm good. I was like making sure everybody knows that we're live and tweeting that stuff out.
Yeah. All of the stuffs.
Okay. I'm doing great, thank you. It's still early here. I still have work to do in my work day, but this has been my favorite day of the week for all of August.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe who just called me. And I hung up. It was Michael Fabiano.
You should call him back and be like,
and tell him I'm live on the
Women
air.
of Fantasy Football. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to say hi?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally off script. But
hey Fabs, I did not mean to hang up on you, but I'm currently live on the air with Women of Fantasy Football.
What is this radio voice?
Do you want to say hello?
Hello.
Hello.
So I know we need to talk, but can I call you back in like an hour?
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi.
So as you can see,
You know what? This is what happens on live television, y'all.
In the middle of not in the middle, it's the tail end of my work day, but day in the life. So there you go.
A day. You know what? To be able to say a day in the life when I just accidentally hang up on Michael Fabiano.
Right.
You just, your casual Wednesday.
Kelly's you're just showing true girl boss. True
girl boss, that's right. I just
Hashtag.
kind of panicked because I'm like, we're live on the air, and I'm. What do I do? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, this episode is about Ashley and Ashley's work and Ashley's love of life and sports and all the things.
All
Not
of
day
the
in the life.
things. Speaking of all of the things, before we get into your fabulousness, you are fairly new here in fantasy football realm. That makes it sound like a kingdom of which we are the queens. Anyway, so how did you get your start in fantasy football? How did you end up here?
Yeah, so I actually June was my 1-year anniversary, so I've only been here for like 14 months. I got started because I was on Clubhouse originally, and I was in a whole bunch of Clubhouse rooms about sports and football. And actually, Faith, that's where I had met you for the first time, was on Clubhouse. And I was working with a whole bunch of people, and someone had mentioned, hey, I think you guys should sign up for the Scott Fish Bowl. And at that point, I played in my one fantasy family redraft league. Like, that was about it. And I was like, you know what? Sounds fun. Let's do it. It was pitched to me as like, you get to meet these awesome people, awesome opportunities. And I was like, I just want to play fantasy football. That's perfect. So I signed up, and then I tweeted out my acceptance, as one does with Scott Fish Bowl, the tradition. And Nick, the head of the Undroppables, reached out to me, and I thought it was like spam at first. And I was like, what is this? I don't do content. Like, who would want to reach out to me? So Nick reached out to me. I had a meeting with him and our lovely director of content, Tommy. And they were like, listen, you could just start out on our social media. We love how you're active on social media. And even just in the first few weeks, we were like, this is so much more than social media. Like, let's jump into this. And then they had approached me with the idea of a football podcast. They said, does it want to be fantasy or football? And I was like, I really just love football more than I love fantasy, which is different from a lot of people in the space who love fantasy more than football. So we took on like that. I have a lovely, amazing co-host who is now my best friend, Michael Duncan. We did one test meeting. We were like, let's test it out with a couple of different people on the team, see who works. The first one was me and Duncan, and we were like, oh, this is perfect. And then we've been doing it for a year now. So it all kind of came out of the blue. I didn't expect to be here. I didn't expect to do content. I expected to just help run a social media. And then so many amazing opportunities have come from it.
That's awesome. We love that story.
Right?
That's the best kind of story, when you just fall into something that you love, because then you're really producing authentically. It comes across that way, and just in my experience generates more love and affection for the brand.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of what sold me on doing it with this team I'm working with, is that it was just so authentic and true, and like not this super strict, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. It was like, you love football, so put out whatever you'd like. Like, if you want to try writing, try your hand at writing. If you want to try and host a podcast, try and host a podcast. And that was what really drew me in, that I didn't have these like super strict deadlines or super strict advisors or anything. So I was able to just show my love, and it's blossomed into so many different types of content for me.
So before we get to the big elephant in the room, there's Ashley and I's dynamic is pretty fun, because I adore Ashley, but for some reason Ashley and I just happen to be born into exact opposite sports fandoms. Like she's a Giants fan, I'm a Patriots fan. She's an Alabama fan, and I'm a UGA fan. It's like, how do we even get along, Ashley?
I don't know. It all started out on Clubhouse that you were like, oh yeah, my team, the Patriots, and I unmuted my mic and I was like, oh.
Yeah, literally the first words we shared were, Yep.
I don't know how it happened, but you have the upper hand right now because you won last year. So
okay, listen. That's like, okay, hold on. That's like the Giants saying that they had the upper hand when they ended our perfect season, when we still had like more rings than y'all. It doesn't matter. The upper hand, if you only have one in like 30 years, and the upper hand is kind of shaky. Yeah. But I'll go with it. I saw this one.
You did unseat Alabama, so
we did unseat Alabama.
I'll give you that.
I'm just over here waving at our audience. Hi.
Okay, so I get this question a lot. Family, Austin. My dad was born and raised in Connecticut. That's how I'm a New England fan. My parents moved to Georgia about 10 years ago, and I thought Ugga was adorable, so that's how I became a Georgia fan. Because my dad being from Connecticut, they don't really do college football. It's all about basketball in New England.
Yep.
So when they moved to Georgia, I was like, Ugga's cute. Let's become a Georgia fan, because we watched college football growing up, but it wasn't like a fandom. Although I was raised to hate the Gators, so I didn't have a team to root for, but I had a team to root against.
Sometimes that's better.
You know, sometimes it makes college football more fun.
It does.
Kelly, how are you?
I'm just reading the comments and I'm like, I'm just providing like entertainment for the chat while you guys do your Q&A.
Sorry, Austin. I love you, but sorry, buddy. Yeah, Austin's a Falcons fan.
Oh.
March 28th.
I actually have my Falcons sweatshirt on right now.
Oh, look at that.
I collect vintage sweatshirts, and this is one of them. I collect vintage NFL sweatshirts. That's one of them.
That's pretty legit. Not gonna lie.
I know. It's fun.
You need to get like one of those puffy starter jackets.
They're all so much more expensive than the sweatshirts, which is why I've been putting off. But those are the coolest. And the thing is, I would wear them, but not often. So I don't want to spend crazy money on it. But I think I'm gonna have to bite the bullet this winter and do it.
So I would also say, do you know who Casey Kasem is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so connect with her, because homegirl thrifts and goes to like auctions, and she lands some baller stuff. Yeah. And so I would just say, make that connection and be like, girl talk. Like, if you keep an eye out for me.
Yep.
Chris, nobody's talking about your old Lion stuff.
I have a gorgeous old Lion sweatshirt. It's right up there. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
We could just turn this whole thing
fashion
into
show?
like an auction
fashion show.
Vintage fashion.
Vogue.
I love it. No, that's my favorite thing to collect. I get most of them. All of them are secondhand, obviously, because they're all vintage. But I get most of them on like Depop and Poshmark. Some of them I found in thrift stores, but I am very picky about which ones I get, and I love my vintage sweatshirt collection. And it's perfect for a podcast. Like, I'm like, oh, who are we feeling today? Sometimes when we're talking about a specific division or a team on my show, well, I'll grab one that matches what we're going to talk about.
Yes, we are doing a vintage WOFF fashion show next year. Plan for it. It's happening. We are going to call every guest that we have ever had on their show, and we are going to make them bring out their best vintage piece of sports memorabilia.
I love it. That's going to be a tough one for me. I don't even know which one I would choose. Probably right now, the Lions one. I think that one's my favorite.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
I'd have to find some vintage NFL stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a throwback hat, but it's a new
It works.
hat.
It's one of the, it's like, it's one of the ones that's like the old design, but just produced.
It's the throwback. Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'll just have to go to New England and look for some stuff.
I can look
or find my way to Georgia and look for some. Yes.
I know. I can
So Ashley.
Yes.
Hi. So for all of you who are watching, who have been watching, or who are new, you know that we recently partnered with Laura Oakman and her organization GALvanize with the sole purpose of raising money to create scholarships for women to attend GALvanize boot camps. What some of you may or may not know is that the lovely Ashley, our fabulous guest this evening, recently attended a GALvanize boot camp at SoFi with the Los Angeles Chargers. Ashley, tell us all about that.
Oh my God. Like I said, you could have me on for 3 hours and I could talk about it forever. But it was truly one of the most life-changing things I've ever done in my entire life. And I read that people said that about after these, all of the testimonials from other women. And I was like, sure, like I believed it, but like maybe for them, like, I don't see how this is going to be so life-changing. And it was. So I flew out to LA. Well, I'll start with my partners. Like, me meeting with Laura was another thing that kind of just happened. Out of the blue, Laura had followed me after I followed her for a little bit. I reached out to her and was like, I like fangirled, but professionally, like I love what you do, like that type of thing. And I had asked her to be a guest on my podcast. And after that, I was like, I would love to come to GALvanize. And she's like, I'd love to have you there. So I stayed on the waiting list, and then I got in this year to go to the Chargers. So I flew from the East Coast over into LA, and it was amazing. I went a couple days early to see some family and get to see a little bit of LA. And I met some of the most amazing people through GALvanize. My new best friend is actually a UGA fan. So funny, I got paired with her too. She was my roommate, and that's the fun part about it. Laura doesn't tell you who you're paired with when you get your roommate. So I was sitting in the hotel room. I left to go get a snack. I came back, but the bags were there, but not her.
Oh.
And I was like, who is this? And she came back.
Like
and
college.
her and I, it really is that I was like, I didn't like a random roommate. I don't know who I'm moving in with for 2 days. And she came back. Some of the girls, we had hit it off right off the bat. And some of the girls went to go grab dinner, and she and I were like, we are loving what we're doing right now. We ordered room service and sat in the room and talked all night. And at 12:30, we were like, we have work to do tomorrow. Like, we have to go to bed. But you're paired based off of the essay you write to get into Galvanize, which is it could be as short or as long as you want. And it's basically just telling about yourself, something that you've gone through. So I got to write that, and Kaylee and I were paired off of that together and had to figure out, that was our first assignment, was figure out why we were paired. And then so much happened after that. I mean, day 2, we spent the entire day in a workshop with just the galvanizers and Laura. And it was like, Laura uses the word a lot, and I hate to just reuse the word, but vulnerability and openness. And I learned more about myself than I have in years. And you'd think these girls are just going to learn how to do sports, but you really have to learn how to be a person and empathize with other people in order to do a job like that. You want people to share their stories, so you have to share some of yours. Laura did this thing for the first time this year where she had Morgan Stanley come do a 1-hour portion of a financial literacy class with us, which was incredible. Something that women don't talk a lot about is money. There's a stigma around talking about salary and money. So we got to ask all questions. I mean, I sat there asking questions about, what exactly is interest, like that type of thing. Whereas I feel like that's not a question I would normally ask. You feel stupid for asking, but no, it's like the saying in middle school, there are no stupid questions. So we got to sit in that room, and then we had a nice big pizza party at night. And the next day was, where the magic all comes together and puts out basically like a product. And what we did is we went and surprised the rookies. They didn't know we were coming, and got to stay in the facilities. Well, first we did our stand-up on camera interviews, which we all had to write on our own and do on camera, 20-second clip that you write it and then do it in front of the camera. And that was my first on camera like stand-up ever. And thank God for my roommate, because I was up all night like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. So we split up for like an hour, wrote our things, came back, and she had done this before. She went to school for this, which is something I didn't, which is also why I was like, I don't know as much as these people do. Am I going to fit in? But that's the whole point, So Kaylee helped me, and we were just tweaking like little words, taking out the word this. And you'd think it wouldn't make a difference, but it did, that type of thing. Yeah. And she was we stood in the bathroom, the two of us, in front of the mirror for like 2 hours and like just practice in front of the mirror. And it was one of those like core memories for me, because it's just like girl time that we were just like lifting and cheering each other on. And it was the same thing when you were in front of the camera, where everybody's standing around the camera, jumping up and down, screaming, cheering for you. And then you get to meet your rookie, and you get to do some fantastic things with the rookies, where you get to, interview them and ask questions. And the way ours ran it was that we got to present the story of our rookie. And some of the most amazing stories from those Chargers rookies that I'm not going to those are their stories to share. So I'm not going to share, what anyone said, but some of the things that aren't in the media, the things that make them who they are, and more than just the players you're going to watch on Sunday. And I made so many connections. Me and my rookie are friends now, that have a great professional connection. And I got to meet so many other amazing people who worked for the Chargers and make those connections as well. So overall, like, it was so much about connections, but more and getting to meet new people and experiences, but it was so much more about who these people and who you are as a person, which made me walk away feeling like a whole new person. And I told the galvanizers with me that once I got home, everyone's like, she's back. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, the old you. Like, she's back. She has this sparkle, this glow, which I felt like I had been missing for some time. And they were like, no, she's back now. And that's exactly what those girls, what Laura and the Chargers did for me there.
I love that story.
Mhm.
It was very full of details, very made me feel like I was right there. Makes me jealous and want to attend
You should.
as
Everybody
well.
should. You
But
should.
speaking of coming back,
Mhm.
I will be right back, but
That was
you
a good
two
segue.
continue.
Okay.
It was a good segue.
Right.
Yeah, so okay, before we
I know
so,
I jumped a lot, so if you have questions,
it's
I
all
didn't know if you wanted
good.
me to give it all. So you tell me.
No, you're good. So can you or will you, are you able to, are you willing to tell us who your rookie was? And
I can tell you who my rookie was. Yes, I was paired with the offensive lineman from William and Mary, Andrew Trainer, was who my rookie was. We were paired together. He was awesome. Andrew is incredible.
that's exciting.
Mhm.
Okay, so I know you did a lot. I know I've had enough conversations with Laura about GALvanize and about what happens during those days.
Yeah.
And she has told me multiple times that she's got media that wants to be there, but she won't because of the same reason that you won't share stories, which is amazing. My question to you is, of the time you were there, what is your favorite memory, or what is the most favorite thing that you did?
Okay. So that's a tough one, but a lot of them are very equal, but one of them stands out. So we had a couple extra minutes at the end of our camp with the rookies. And Laura never finishes early. She says, they always run to the last minute. We had an extra 10 minutes. And Laura had asked if anybody was willing to switch roles and have their rookie be the interviewer and the galvanizer be the interviewee. And I saw Andrew thinking about it, and I think I was thinking about it, and there were some things that I hadn't shared, even in that room of just the women, that I felt like I would have been sad if I didn't share. So I looked at him and I was like, I think we should do it. And he was like, oh, I don't know. So I was like, all right, I think, does it make you uncomfortable? And he was like, yes. I was like, that's kind of our rule. Can we try it? And he said yes. So we got to talk to each other for just a few minutes, and Andrew stood up, walked himself to the front of the room, and had such grace in sharing such a deep emotional story of mine, like a backstory of mine and who I am and why I'm here. And I was standing up there ready to cry. And at the end of what he did, I was like, that's more uncomfortable than asking you the questions. That was uncomfortable for me. And that was me pushing myself to a place I don't usually go. And that was Andrew placing himself at a place he doesn't usually go. And Laura, basically was like, this is what it's about. Ashley didn't share that story yesterday. She could have, when there were only close people to her. Instead, she shared it with all of you guys because she trusted Andrew. So that to me is my favorite memory from all of it, because both of us worked together to help push each other. And I got to stand up in front of the entire group and watch him do something amazing, for me,
That's fantastic. I love it. Laura has often said that GALvanize wouldn't be GALvanize without the rookies that she galvanizes. And just from your experience with your rookie, and I'm sure if I asked every other galvanizer this year or in years past, they would have the same connection with their rookie, because that's the point. That's kind of what it's all about, is building that connection, building that rapport, learning about the person behind the player. And so seeing all of that, and then just in the last 3 weeks, or since we announced our partnership, seeing all the men who have stepped up to support women in fantasy football, to support GALvanize, it's sure it can be a scary place for women in sports sometimes, but there are plenty of men who are here to support us and tell our stories, even if we don't think we can. And that's just amazing.
Exactly. And she shared that with us too, that she's like, this doesn't work without amazing men who help lift you up. And that actually reminds me, I sent out a tweet about it recently. An article came out over the weekend about Jalen Hurts, and how Jalen Hurts his entire team around him is women, because that's one of his goals, is to get more women in this industry. Even his agent is a woman. And he's like, people doubted me when I was coming out of college. And that's how I feel like the world treats women in sports. So his entire team is women. And that's what Laura means when she says, like, this doesn't work without amazing men who go out of their way to help lift women up. You know, I'm sure we could battle our way there if we really try, but it would take so much longer and be so much harder. So having even just a few men and who sit there and make the time and make space for you makes such a difference for women in this industry.
That's amazing. When I was talking to Laura earlier this year, when we were first making the connection and first talking it through and what a partnership would look like and all of that stuff, she wanted me to attend a boot camp, and I totally am going to.
You should.
I just had 2 elections this year, and so the timing of it. So the plan is for next year, and I am equal parts excited, but equal parts terrified.
Yes. That was exactly how I was packing my bags, and I was like, why? I'm having such bad anxiety. Like, what did I sign myself up for? Like, I am going to a new state across the country with nobody I know, no idea what I'm doing, because part of GALvanize is you don't know what goes on in the rooms. And that's the amazing part of it. Like, what I shared is just mostly surface level stuff that you would be able to find on talking to Laura. So there's so much that happens that you don't know about. And that's what I was like, what did I sign myself up for? I don't know. What did I do? Did I make a mistake? Like, and that's what it was. But I was so excited because I know what the stories are from these girls, and they're just their passion for telling their stories from there. But the terrified part of it, I 100% understand, because I was like on the plane, like, oh my God, what did I do?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but before you made it to your GALvanize boot camp, you actually got to hang out with a bunch of people in LA, did you not?
I did.
At a live draft?
Yes. So I ended up going to the Scott Fish Bowl live draft at TrophySmack on my way there, because I had gone a few days early.
TrophySmack.
Is she back? Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Look at
you're
there.
muted.
Kelly, unmute yourself.
Kelly.
All right.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, I was just talking about how I was able, right before GALvanize, that I was able to stop by TrophySmack for the Scott Fish Bowl draft, which was awesome. And it set me up for a great time at GALvanize too, because it helped ease some of those nerves of meeting new people, because I hadn't met anyone in that room. That was the first time I met even the team I work with, some of the team that I work with. So TrophySmack was incredible. But yes, I got to stop by there and do the Scott Fish Bowl draft beforehand.
We loved having you, and you even won an Austin Eckler ring that I've been terrible about fulfilling.
No, it is. You guys are, like you said, you're in your busy season. I totally understand. I don't need it now.
She just needs it.
I'm just very excited about it. I got to blow a horn and everything.
Yeah. So I won.
Yep,
I won the Austin Eckler ring because I was the person who drafted Austin Eckler the highest out of everyone who was in the LA Scott Fish Bowl group.
And where did you draft Austin Eckler?
9 overall. 9 overall.
9 overall was the highest. That is somewhat surprising.
Yeah. I expect him to go a little bit earlier. Even then, even when I was going, I was like, wow, he dropped me. And then I think he's right around there, usually like beginning of the second area. But yeah, I got him at 9, and I was the highest person in there to draft him. So I got a fancy ring.
Nice.
It's very exciting.
It is. I'm very excited to get it.
So my goal for next year is if we do live drafts again, and if I am blessed to be able to make it into Fishbowl again, if they do another LA draft, only because like there are so many people that I love who are out there, like Liz Loza. I've had her, like she's been a WOFF guest like twice. I've been in leagues with her. Jen Piacenti. Like there are so many people out there that I know, but like don't know, you know?
Yep, 100%. And I said the same thing to all of these guys when there, that I was like, Now I'm going to have to fly to LA once a year because I can't go to a draft anywhere else. Like I got to meet so many people that I had close connections with as internet friends and got to meet them in person and was so excited about it and made amazing personal, like in-person relationships that I was like, now if we do live drafts again, I have to do it in LA again. I can't go anywhere else.
I mean, Josh and I did Orlando live and it was fun. But not gonna lie, it was not LA fun, and I didn't even like go to LA. I just saw
LA
it
with the
like,
bowling alley and how they selected the draft order. It was
we were in a room. I mean, granted, we drafted at Disney, which is fun, but we were in like a conference room, and it was fun, but it wasn't LA fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun and a lot of work, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again. Let me tell you, my favorite part though was somebody brought me a 1961
I remember that
bottle of red wine because I'm a huge fan, and I don't even know, it was like I had like a out of body experience.
For what it's worth, I'm gonna come stay with you next year, Kelly.
You can come stay with me.
Okay, cool.
He also brought Liz rosé, which we promptly put in the refrigerator and added ice against my better judgment. But it's Liz, so we let her do that. Ashley, did you have any favorite beverages or snacks at the live draft?
I honestly was just upstairs. We did a shot or two upstairs, which was a lot of fun because that was like a little community gathering of everyone coming together upstairs. But I was just having a couple drinks at the bar. Whoever was like, you want one? I was like, sure. So that was the fun of it. Just tried a couple new things, had a couple drinks. It was a lot of fun.
It really was. Thank you. I have to give a shout out. Thank you, Dame Overboard, for the little compliment in there. She said I crushed
about
it.
our segues.
Nice. No, that the live draft that TrophySmack
was talking about our segues. Yes,
segues, queen of segues.
We're just crushing. Kelly crushed the live draft. We're crushing segues tonight. It's perfect. Sorry about your bad luck, Ashley. I don't know what you're crushing.
I'm crushing this. I'm crushing.
Yeah, you are.
I'm crushing as the
You are crushing life, Ashley. That's what you're crushing.
Can I ask a question again since you had private time?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Since you had private time. That sounds weird.
So, Ashley, you were at the expo, correct?
I wasn't at the expo.
You were not at the expo?
No, I was in Disney.
I know. We swapped places.
I know. You did the expo.
Right. I went north. You went south.
All right, forget that question then. I have nothing. Goodbye. Okay, I'm lying. Did you happen to have a chance to watch? Did you happen to have a chance to watch the women's panel from the expo? Because I know that we are looking to expand the panel next year. It's going to be in the main room. We're going to do the Queen's Cup challenge because there's a King's Cup and that's just rude. So did you have a chance to watch any of that panel? And is there anything you would have added? I think the best topic was the imposter syndrome. So pretend you're on the panel. Would you have added anything to that?
I did get to watch most of it. I didn't finish the end of it. The thing I would add is definitely the main room. That was not fair. I think the main room would be the perfect thing to add. But for me, I think it's more so like the conversation about taking leaps, like having to push yourself constantly. I think for me, that's something I would talk about all day long. Being able to say like, you have to oftentimes as a woman in this industry, be your own advocate and push yourself because a lot of people won't push you, or like I said, like I was kind of thrown into the role and I had a team who helped. But that to me is something I would talk about all day long.
I love that. I'm making notes.
Good. I will be there next year. I promise.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
Okay. Question for you. How many leagues are you in?
Oh,
not including underdog or best ball.
Okay. So I think I'm in 3 dynasty leagues, 2 family leagues. I want to say probably close to like 12 now, which is a lot for me. Like I want to say around between redraft and dynasty around there. A couple of them are like co-managed. So that works out well. Like I was busy when I was in Disney, we had a draft going on, and I co-managed with my co-host Michael Duncan, and he was able to keep the draft rolling without me when I didn't have service. So a couple of them are co-managed, which takes away a little bit of the pressure. But yeah, that's a lot for me, especially in the past year, going from like, you know, 1 league to like 5 leagues to 12 now.
So when I first got started in fantasy football, Josh can attest to this. I went from 1 league to 5. No, I went from 1 league to 3 leagues to 13 leagues.
Yep. It's basically what I did, because you don't want to say no to opportunities either, which is a huge thing.
Correct.
Like, I didn't want to tell people no because I don't know where it's going to lead, and I need to meet new people in the industry, and I need to get more content, and maybe I'll get content out of being in this league. And so you don't want to say no to anything. This year I've had to be like, I would love to, but maybe if I have a spot that opens up next year, you know?
So the year that I went to 13 leagues, somebody asked me to be in an all IDP league. It was my first year with IDP. I knew nothing about it. There was no offense. None whatsoever. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And like with 3 days to the draft, I reached out to Chris Robin at Detroit PC, and I was like, so you're going to co-manage this team with me? He goes, okay. Because he is like he knows IDP. And I'm like, he was the first person that I knew that knew IDP and like connected with. So I was like, you're doing this with me. And if you know anything about Chris, you know he's just like, okay.
Chris is awesome.
Not to be confused with DFS.
Yes.
Faith thinks all initials related to football relate back to DFS.
No, I don't.
DLP. Do you remember that in the chat? It was so funny. All right. Sorry. I thought it was funny.
Now you're just over here making me seem like an idiot.
Not like an idiot. DL. What was it? DLF. And I'm like,
they really need to come out with like they need to come out with like a guide, like a table of contents.
I knew what you were talking about.
Even I am like, what?
I knew what you were talking about, but I was like, let's talk about me for a second. We're gonna refer I knew you were talking about DFS, and I was like, but I got a DLF follow from this shirt.
I got an IDP follow from IDP. I don't know. That didn't land well.
I was going to say, we're going to finish with IDP, guys. Well, and then so League Tapa, like I mentioned, I've been in a league with Liz Loza, the Super Flexi Draft Queens League for the last 2 years. And this year I was like, I'm tapped out. I can't do any more leagues. Like, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm done. And they needed to fill out a person. And Melissa Jacobs is in the league, and she's good friends with Stefania Bell, and Liz, who now works at ESPN, works with Stefania, and they were both like, well, I can reach out to Stefania and see if she wants in. And I'm like, crap. If Stefania's in, then I have to be in, because my FOMO will just take over. So I'm adding one more league. We're drafting at some point this weekend, so I'm finally in a league with both Liz Loza and Stefania Bell.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to manage any of this. I'm going to lose tragically to both.
I was going to say that's a lot of work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's so much pressure.
Oh, so much pressure. So much pressure. Ashley, thank you so much for opening our final show of 2022.
Of course.
So glad to have you with us. Before we let you go, tell the people anything you want to tell them, and then let them know where they can find you.
Sure. So all of my women who are watching this, if you have any questions about Galvanize and are looking to go, I am hoping to go again next year, and I'm hoping Faith, you will go, and Kelly, I hope you try and go. I think it's something everyone should try to do at least once in their life, and I'm so grateful for you guys giving the opportunity to someone who may not have had the chance otherwise, because that is going to be a life-changing thing for one lucky woman. And, you know, if you have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me mostly on my Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's at the beginning of Ashley. All of my content is with the Undroppables. Their website has most of my content on it. And I do a show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time called the Undroppables Playbook, which you can watch live or stream wherever you get your podcasts.
So when the watcher hangs up with us in 45 minutes, switch over to Ashley.
Yeah.
Because she's going live in about 15.
Yes, but please watch this first. You can always stream mine after.
Ashley, again, thank you so much for joining us. Kelly, I will let you say goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
And we are now in the Sound of Music.
I love it.
So long.
Bye.
Farewell.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Ashley. I always have to rest my cheeks in between.
I know, every time. And then I have to adjust my camera because then you can see the top of my closet.
Okay, I have to put this on before Jen comes on. Okay. So, for our last guest of Women of Fantasy Football of 2022, ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, Jen Eakins. Hello,
Hi.
Jen.
Hi guys.
Yeah,
I'm glad you put that hat on because I'm wearing a shirt as well.
So I'm wearing my Bulldog's earrings too.
I got my shirt on. I'm ready.
Oh yeah. Yes. I was like, all right, I'm wearing this for 2 reasons. One, because you were on, which is a Bulldogs fan, and then Ashley, who we just had before, is a Bama fan. So
I heard that. No, boo. I was listening at that point and I was like, no. I'm just kidding. She's very lovely despite being an Alabama fan.
You know, a lot of people are very lovely despite being Alabama fans.
And a lot of them are not.
Sometimes, and a lot of them are not. There are quite a few Georgia fans who are not lovely, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You know what?
Jen,
in
how are
Arizona,
you
people
this
don't
evening?
really care about college football as much as they do on the East Coast and in the South. So I'm over here just like, all right, have a little chat. It's good. I'll be back.
SEC, yeah. College football is kind of a big deal down over here in the SEC. Although I say over here, but Jen's not really over here anymore.
No,
I'm you, Kelly.
Yeah, I live in Colorado. I've been in Colorado for 20-something years now.
Wow.
Oh, look at, hi, Mr. Scampers. He said, sorry, I'm here too. He's everywhere. I love to see it. I absolutely love to see it. Hello.
So you were talking about Colorado.
Yeah, no, I've just been here. Yeah, I graduated from University of Georgia, but I've been in Colorado for several decades now.
That's exciting.
Yeah, no, it is.
So,
and I still trot out my Georgia flag every season, and people think it's Green Bay. They don't understand.
Yep.
At all. They're like, what is that? Why is it red? And what is that G? But I still do it, you know?
You know, my favorite thing is to see like the just the plain white decals on the back of cars. And is that Georgia or is that Green Bay? Because when you just have the G, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. I always think it's Georgia. That's just what my default is. I'm like, even if you have a Wisconsin license plate, it's a Georgia decal.
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
I'm going to just jump in. We have questions that I did not contribute to.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a kind of a game. You try to figure it out.
I think I skipped. I had to skip. Sorry about that little hiccup. I did not contribute to these questions, but I jump in and I find one that I think is interesting. And this one says, Jen, your Twitter bio says...
Oh, she's stealing my cheese question.
So, what cheese is your favorite cheese? I'm leaving the hard-hitting questions to Faith.
You know what? That's pretty hard-hitting. No, that's pretty hard-hitting because, to be honest with you, I don't know if I can even. I love it all. Like I love the stinky nasty. I love the like nutty hard. I love it all. I know, right?
We all love the nutty hard.
Right, like manchegos and stuff like that. I could all of that. I would say, God, I don't really. I mean, I guess I'll just go with like a brie. It's kind of lame, but I can never, I can never turn down a brie. I will say the only thing that I do not like is Swiss. That is probably the only cheese that I will not eat. it's kind of weird and rancid to me. And I know that people are like, what are you talking about when you eat all the stinky, 50-year-old cheeses? But I just don't like Swiss. Like, I'll always swap it out, But then people are always like, well, I can't go wrong with like a slice of American on a burger. Like, you can't, you can't go wrong with that either. So really, I love it all.
I love it all too. I think that we can now become best friends after this, and
I'm
I'll
in.
come to Colorado. We'll eat cheese. It's great.
Yes.
It's gonna be good.
Okay, but can American actually be considered cheese?
I mean, sure. Not the not the kind in the little plasticky thing.
The Kraft slices.
Not those. Like the deli American, like that on a burger is like the only, I mean, it's, it's so
it melts
classic.
Better than cheddar, that's for sure.
It's very classic. That's probably the only thing I will eat American on, or maybe a grilled cheese, but, but not the plastic. No plastic cheeses.
No plastic cheese. And here's one more cheese fact.
I have to show that. Swiss is grosser than the gross cheeses because it has no commitment to grossness.
Once again, Mr. Scampers, I love you, man. We're always like this.
Manchego happens to be my favorite cheese if I had to pin it down, I think. But the worst part is when you leave it too long, it gets that sweaty oiliness on it.
Yeah.
So we'll throw that out there.
Yep.
Do with it what you will. But
I don't think I've ever had Manchego.
Oh, it's very yes, it's super nutty and delicious.
Oh yeah, I don't know that sounds good to me.
Okay.
A little saltiness, hard. Yeah.
I'm a classic cheese person, like a sharp cheddar and like a Parmigiano Romano. I could do brie on crackers. Asiago is a solid cheese, Jimmo. Asiago is a solid cheese, especially on a bagel.
Oh, I love this turn of events and this cheese discussion.
I can do it all day, to be honest with you. Like,
listen, hard hitting journalism. Jen didn't graduate from UGA school to talk about football. No, we are here to talk about cheese. Speaking of UGA school,
yes.
What was when you went to school and chose your major? What was your idea of how you were going to use it? Like, what do you want to do with it?
So it's interesting. I'm old, right? It's no secret there. So actually, it's interesting. Now at UGA, they have a legitimate like sports media department, which is fantastic. I follow them on Twitter and I've interacted and I'm super jealous of the kids that are there now and get to actually study sports journalism. I had to just pick. I've always wanted to work in sports since I was a little kid. Like my dream was to work in the NFL as a child. So I knew I wanted to go that route. When I was in college, unfortunately, once again, I'm old. There was no internet. Okay. So there was no sites to write for. Like you guys all coming up now have it so easy. Like when I was growing up and when I was coming out of college, it was like, okay, you worked for Sports Illustrated or you worked for your local paper. Like that's it. There was nothing in between. So that's what I wanted to do. I was actually a journalism / I was an advertising major with an art minor. I knew I didn't want to do that, but I just kind of did that so that I could just be in the J school and get, the classes that I wanted to get out there. And it was hard. I mean, it was really, really hard. And I hate to do the whole, I had to walk up, both ways in the snow, barefoot, whatever. But, I came out of college and it was like, I tried to do everything I could to get into the sports business. My actual first job out of college, I sold group and season ticket packages for the Atlanta Hawks. I did that for, and it was awful. It was a horrible job. I hate sales. I'm not a salesperson, but I did that. I did all kinds of stuff. I mean, we don't even have time on this podcast to tell you what I've done for the last 2 decades in the sports business, but, it was hard. And I took a break. I took like almost I'd say 7-year break where I went to metalsmithing school. I decided to be a jeweler and I did all this other weird stuff and bartended and then got married, had a kid. And then my son was probably a year and I was like, okay, I need to go back to the sports world. Because what happened was, honestly, I got burnt out. I got burnt out of going from job to job and I was just staying at that entry level. Like there was nowhere to go. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I was there for a year. And then I realized in this company, like I'm going to still be here in 5 years if I stay here. And so I just kept kind of grinding back and forth. And, I was working for the Colorado Rockies. I was answering the line that you just call, like the info line. It was like 303 Rocky. Like, people would call and be like, what can you bring into the stadium? What time does the game start? Like, that was my job. And I was making like $5.25 an hour. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like 10 years out of college at this point. Like, I can't do it. So that was when I left, came back, all that. And so that really was way longer than what you actually asked me as far as why I studied in school. But I mean, that's kind of what happened to me. I just kind of ended up going all these different places. And by the time I came back to the sports world, everything had changed. And now there's, a million different opportunities in every way you look. So that's kind of, how I am where I am now. But, I feel like, back in the day, it was so unbelievably limited. Not just for women, but for everybody. I mean, there just wasn't a lot of opportunity unless, like I said, you worked at Sports Illustrated or you worked for the paper and there was nothing else.
It's fascinating to me that you say that, not opportunities for women, but for everybody. But people often ask me, you say you're old. I feel old. I'm 43. And I felt like there wasn't a place for me to share my love of sports and to talk about it. And now that there is, it hasn't been that long really that there's been these opportunities for women. And now I feel like, well, am I too old for this? But no, I don't think so. And I wonder what your feelings are on that too. Like, is there a time we age out? Do we just continue learning? Because right now I feel like I'm just getting started,
No, absolutely. I feel the same way as you. I mean, when I first came back and decided to kind of get back into this business, I think I was 40 and I was just like, okay, and I feel like, I feel like we can always reinvent ourselves. I mean, right. I will say there's moments here now where I'm like, at 4 for 4 and people are starting to talk about, this whole TikTok and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys, I'm not going to be dancing around pointing at start sits and like, I'm not doing it. And it's just not going to happen. And no one wants to see a middle-aged woman doing that anyway. So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm perfectly happy. And hopefully people enjoy me on, various podcasts that I'm on all the time and stuff. But it's the little things like that where I'm like, okay, I think I've aged out of that portion of it, but I think we can always continue to kind of reinvent what we can do in this space. And, I think the true people that want fantasy advice and that are here for the community don't care what we look like and don't care how old we are. I would like to think that. I mean, I know that, I know a lot of women in this space get a lot of, hate and trolling and all that. Fortunately, I don't. I never have. Right. I don't know if it's because I kind of came into it like, look, I'm old and I'm a mom and I'm married. So like nobody, no one comes at me to like date me. I don't get dick pics. I don't get, what I mean? Like people, right. Like I'm transparent. Like I'm old. I've been married for 20 years and I'm a mom. So here I am, and so I don't get a lot of that hate and whatever, because that's just, this is me, you like it or you don't. But fortunately, a lot of people, I hopefully, don't, because I don't get the hate, thankfully.
No, that's great. I mean, once I was told that they wanted me on camera because it wasn't like, I don't even remember the word they used, but it wasn't your blonde hair, blue eyes, big chest.
Which is great. I love that. I mean, we need diversity.
It was great to hear that. And then at the same time, I'm like, okay.
So
I'm knowledgeable. I know, I'm like, is this a backhanded compliment? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
it was refreshing and it was nice to know. And exactly what you said, your community, when they can believe what you're telling them, when you are authentic, when you are knowledgeable, when you are approachable, I feel like you don't get that kind of hate. And when you do, they really will rally around and support and be like, you know what, get out of here. You don't belong, troll person. So
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's been, and listen, I was one of the original women in this space, and there was only a few of us for a really long time. And in the last couple of years, it's just exploded. Like you guys have all shown up in the last couple of years, and it's been fantastic. I love watching it, and because I've always been the only woman in the room, like everywhere. Like back when I worked at the Atlanta Hawks, I was the only woman on like a 15-person sales team. I've always been and unfortunately, I am still the only woman at 4 for 4, and that's not on purpose. It's just what it is at the moment. But I've always been a guy's gal anyway. I mean, but at the same time, I love seeing all the women in the space, and everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone's authentic. Like you said, nobody's coming in and trying to be other people. And if they are, it doesn't really work out for them. I think a lot of the women that are thriving in this space are kind of just being themselves, which I think is
exactly.
important.
Like I have noticed, and it's not just in this space, it's anywhere. There are women who get a bigger following because they're pretty. Yeah. And people follow them, which is totally fine. But then there's the women who know their stuff and know what they're talking about, and I feel like sometimes it's kind of an unbalanced system. Is sometimes people won't listen to you because they can't see past you. And it's like, well, then that's your loss. If you can't see past me to listen to what I have to say, then you don't just hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
And you can go lose your league because you're dumb.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I think that, I think and I think also, people will always ask, like, if I, feel like it's competition or, all these young women. And I'm like, no, like there's room for all of us. I don't know how much longer I'll be doing this, hopefully a while, because I enjoy it and it's my full-time job. And, I don't really want to do anything else now that I've kind of, it's taken me a while to get here. As I said, I've gone a huge path. I've been 7 years in the fantasy industry. I was in the real football world for a while before I came to the fantasy football world. But, I've been here for 7 years and I don't really have any plans of leaving. So I hope people will continue to, take in my content because I enjoy it.
Good for you. Speaking of going from the football world to the fantasy world, how did you go from the real football to fake football?
So originally I was writing, this is crazy, but so I was, like I said earlier, right after I had my kid and I was sitting around and I was like, I need to be back in the sports world. Like I had taken a break. I thought I could just be a fan, I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then I realized I had to be back working in it. And so on a random whim, I decided to apply to Bleacher Report to be a writer. And I literally wrote an article specifically just to send in because I had nothing. I hadn't done anything in years. And I sat down. It was during the Tim Tebow era, which was a year, 2 games, but it happened to be right then. So I wrote an article about Team Tebow and I sent it in and I was like, there's no way in the world I'm going to get this. Like one random article. And I got the job and I ended up, they promoted me. I ended up being I was the Denver Broncos, reporter for them for 2 seasons. And it was fantastic. And then I also fantasy Twitter had kind of come about during that time. And I was on there and I was kind of making friends and I was in the mix and I was kind of in and out, right? I had like one toe in fantasy. My first year of fantasy football was 1996. So I've been playing forever before most of you people listening are probably. But so yeah, so 10. Oh, okay. There you go. So yeah, I've been playing for a very, very long time. And so I was always, a player. But, I didn't even know that an analyst was an actual thing. Right. So I just kind of was like in and out of fantasy Twitter. And one day I was like, well, why not? Like, I've won a bunch of leagues. Sure. Like everybody else thinks. Okay. And I had become friends with Josh Moore, who was the owner of 4for4 at the time. And I just kind of slid into DMs, like straight up. I was like, hey, you looking for writers? And, he was kind of like, and we had become friends. And so he had seen tweets and I guess knew that, figured that I knew what I was talking about. And he brought me on. I think the first year, I wrote 1 article, maybe 2 a week during the season. And then I just made it to where they couldn't, live without me. And, now 7 years later, I'm the content manager for the site and I put out a crap load of content for the site. So I just kind of stayed. I mean, I wasn't even sure when I started if it was going to be a thing or not, but I just, once I started, I kind of just didn't stop and I kind of made it to where I was a permanent fixture and they couldn't get rid of me if they tried.
What does your family think of your work? Like, is your husband a fan? Your child a fan?
My child is not. It's so funny. So we have 1 kid. My husband, until recently, actually worked in the sports world too. So he worked for. It's called Altitude TV, which is a station owned by Stan Kroenke, who owns the Colorado Avalanche, the Denver Nuggets, part of the Rams. He owns a gazillion teams.
Yeah.
So my husband worked for that TV station for 15 years until recently. So we both have worked in the sports world forever, and we have one child, and he hates sports. Everything about it. Doesn't play it, doesn't watch it. Like, seriously, nothing. It's so weird. We're like, we don't know
That's
how and
usually
where
how it goes.
We're like, where did you come from? So he hates it. My husband's totally on board. He's super supportive of everything. I've been in many leagues with him, and he's very supportive of the whole thing. My actual family, super supportive as well. I mean, I grew up I grew up in Miami, Florida. My family they're original Dolphin season ticket holders. Like, I was a football fan from the womb. I was going to Dolphin games in the womb. So I grew up. It's funny. People always ask me, like, how'd you learn football? And it's one of those things that I never actually, like, I don't remember learning it. It's like learning to walk or learning the English language. Like, no one ever sat down and said, okay, you have 4 tries to go 10 yards. Like, that never, like, it just, football was always something I knew. I grew up, it just was part of my childhood. I don't remember ever having anyone explain it to me. I've always known it. I've always done it. So my family's on board with all of it. They love it. And they knew that I was probably going to end up doing something in that realm anyway, because I've always loved football.
Love that. That's
amazing. So I think Josh just added or just noticed your Twitter handle down there.
Oh,
which leads me to ask, how did that come about? The Monday Mommy.
So when I decided to come back into the realm, I was like, at the time, I'm like, okay, what do I do? I'm going to make a blog and see if anyone reads it. I guess it was what, mid 2000s, or maybe, I don't know, whenever it was, mid 2007, 8, whatever. I was just like, okay. So I just was thinking about it, and I just came up with that name. I had just had a kid, and it was like, okay, Monday, like the Monday quarterback, Monday morning. So my blog was the Monday Morning Mommy is how it started. And then I just, for Twitter, I kind of, and it's funny because I'm super over it, but at this point I can't. You know what I mean? Like, there was a point maybe about 5 years ago that I was like, I think I'm going to try to change my Twitter handle. And a couple people were like, you can't. That's who you are. And I'm like, all right, fine. Now. Like, I always think about stepmom Lauren. I'm like, I wonder if she feels the same way. Like, you just kind of make a Twitter handle and there you are. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you're like, is this still me? But I guess it is. I don't know if people would know who I was without it at this point. So, and I haven't, that blog is so neglected. I went, actually, unfortunately, my dad passed away 2 years ago. And so I actually like dusted it off and wrote an article about him and me and football and all that. And then, of course, I haven't touched it since then either. So it's just sitting there neglected. But it was kind of it was my reentry back into the business. I decided to just start it, and I named it the Monday Morning Mommy. And then I just it's now me, whether I like it or not.
It's part of who you are. All right, I'm going to ask a question, and Kelly, just a heads up, you can just tune this out because it's about college football. You can pay attention all you want to, but so
I'm going to catch up on my correspondence.
Yes, she's going to just sit back and read. Okay, so where were you on that fateful night earlier this year, Jen?
I was actually in my living room with my son. My husband was working, and I was alone with my kid, who doesn't care about anything. So he was in his room playing like whatever, Minecraft or something. And I was like, screaming, crying. I made him come out for like the last, like when I thought it was actually going to happen. Cause right? Being a fan.
Oh, it's Alabama.
I'm actually about to cry right now, but seriously, I can do it at any moment talking about. But yeah, after 30 years, sitting there watching, I was like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. I called my kid out screaming. I did the full, like on my knees, tears. Look at me. I'm actually crying right now, just talking about it.
I love
That's crazy. Whew. But yes, I was at home. I didn't want to be anywhere else. I just wanted to watch it in my house. It's funny, like this season, it's one of those things where I was like, okay, they won. I've waited 30 years. They won. I don't care anymore. I don't care what happens. And then, of course, now I'm like, okay,
of course,
it's happen again. Right. I'm like, they can't lose this whole season. So yeah, I'm excited for this Saturday first game.
Yes, So I don't have ESPN at home, and I wasn't about to go somewhere and watch it because when it comes to big games like that my team is in, I have a hard time watching it because I get unnecessarily stressed out. Like I can't. How I feel will not change what happens, but I take it seriously. 9 times out of 10, if the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, I can't watch until like the fourth quarter because it stresses me out. And I know that people will say that makes me a bad fan, but it is what it is. And so at
no one can say what a bad fan. Fans are fans. However you do it, you do it.
So I was watching, I don't even know what I was watching, but I was keeping track of the score on my phone. And about halftime, it's 11:30 or so. Actually, no, it was probably about 10. I'm like, I'm going to bed because me being awake will not change anything. For some reason, I woke up at like 13 minutes left to go in the game. I checked the score. We were up, and I was like, I'm not going to get excited. It's Alabama. There's still 13 minutes left to play. It ain't over till it's over. So I tried to go back to sleep. I could not. I checked the score again. It's closer. We're still up. My heart is racing. I tried everything to calm myself down. And so literally I'm like, okay, we're here. I'm listening to the game. But the way the ESPN app works is that if you're listening to it live, there's a delay. So you'll see the score update on the app first, and then you'll hear it. And so I see it, and I am sitting in the fetal position on my bed by myself. People are like texting me congratulations. I'm like, listen, there's still like 30 seconds left to go. And they're like, you're up like 2 touchdowns. And I'm like, but it's Alabama. Like, it's not over till it's over. And then when it was like 10 seconds, I broke down. I'm like sobbing, crying. Everybody's like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, I'm
crying right now. I'm reliving the moment.
I'm like,
I know.
And I
still
wanted to be.
Yeah. And I'll still like on Twitter, like I'll see like every now and then people will show like clips of like the interception or clips. And I'm bawling. I'm like, it's so weird because with NFL, I that is gone for me. Like, I think because working in this business, like I don't really have that emotion anymore for the NFL at all. And so, but college, like the Georgia, that's it. Like, I just can't, it's there and it'll never go away. Like, that is the team I root for. That is everything to me. Like NFL, I love the NFL. I like watching it, but it's just, I don't have that emotion for any team anymore. Like, I grew up a huge Dolphin fan in my childhood, and, I've lived in Denver now for so many years, and I was here for the Super Bowls and Peyton Manning, and that was fun too. So I root for both teams, but it's not the same. Like, it's not what I feel for Georgia and how it just like, I can just see like the helmet and I'm like,
oh yeah. Well, that's like, I think being a fan of a sports team that's like beaten any kind of drought. Like, I'm also a Red Sox fan. So 2004.
Oh yeah.
Seeing and as the Yankee fan host who's behind the scenes drops his head. Thank you, Mariano Rivera. Just seeing any kind of like clip from that game. Like, I went back and rewatched highlights from 2004. I sobbed. Being a Cubs fan. I'm not even a Cubs fan, but when the Cubs won the World Series, I sobbed because it's that, like Dame said, sports emotion is.
It's so weird.
It's a different thing. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, after the Georgia, I was like, I feel like I played the game. Like, I mean, imagine the people that actually play and are like the actual team. I'm just like, I cry like it's, I don't know. It's crazy. I'm like, imagine actually being involved and being on the field and actually,
being
I'm just
there.
a rando in the.
I felt from Florida. Like, I have a friend. Like, I have friends who were in whose cat?
Mine. This is Twizzler. This is Twizzler. If he can, there. Yeah. He wants me to open the window, but it's not happening. It's 9,000 degrees and it's not happening.
I love it. So yeah, like being an indie, like feeling that emotion, like seeing it. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine.
I know.
It's crazy. Even imagine. Hi, Kelly. Welcome back.
Hi.
Oh, wait, one last thing about college football. So I have only been to one college football game. I have been to one college football game in my life, and it happened to be on my birthday a couple years ago in Athens. It was the Georgia Tech game. And so, first of all, like, everybody knows that Georgia is going to beat Georgia Tech. It's just a thing because Georgia Tech is smart. They're not good at football.
Yeah.
But if you have never been to a college football game in your team's home stadium, it is an experience unlike no other. NFL games are fun, but there is an atmosphere at college football games that you cannot even begin to understand or explain if you've never been.
I know. I miss Athens. I haven't been to a game in a very, very long time. And unfortunately, when I was actually a student at Georgia, it was like the worst era ever in UGA football history. Like we lost every game when I was there. It was still fun, and we would all get drunk, and it was super fun. But we lost. I mean, we lost to Florida every year. We lost to, and we lost every. I mean, it was a very, very bad era when I happened to be, a student there. But man, when I was there, tickets were like $2. It was great. Wow. It was so fun. I mean, now I'm sure not like that anymore because nothing is $2 anymore.
No, unfortunately, I'm one less than Kelly, and it's all yours, honey. I looked into tickets for next weekend simply because it's the first home game. So they're playing Stanford, which no wonder you can still get cheap tickets. But I'm like, I think I have to work, which bums me out because I could get close tickets for cheap to see their home opener. They're raising a banner. I'm like, but I want to be there.
I need to go back at some point, but I'm too far now and whatever. It's too expensive.
Kelly, back to you.
I was going to chime in finally. I have something relevant to say. My daughter I just dropped off my oldest at Northern Arizona University, home of the Lumberjacks. And I'm really looking forward to family weekend, and we get to go to a game, and the freshmen are all going to run across the field. And
how fun.
So it's going to be really exciting because I went to Grand Canyon University, go Lopes. And it was not like that, especially when I went. It was so small and super private and small and not the kind of environment you get at a university. So it's going to be interesting and exciting for me because I haven't experienced those kinds of emotions and crowds and things like that. So
I have lots of friends who this year, for some reason, I don't know, all my friends had babies, at the same time, but I have tons of friends who just dropped off their kids at college for the first time. That freaks me out. I mean, my son is only 13. I'm not ready for that at all. That'll be insane because I still feel like I'm 20. You know what I mean? Like I still feel like I should be going to college.
I get it. I do. I get it.
Creeps up on you.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. It's going to be fun. And then I saw in the comments too, JC popped in and said they were watching over on Twitter, hopped over here, subscribed. JC, I'm sorry that this is our last
I know
fantasy football episode. However, you can follow all of us and all of our guests from all season. We all do work across many different platforms and networks, and you can catch us in other areas.
Did somebody change my name? Because I didn't do that.
Josh.
Are you able to do that? That's cool.
Yeah.
I thought it had, no, I'm totally fine with that. It's so funny. You go on a million different pods and some people want certain things, certain ways. And I didn't even remember what I had, but I was like, I don't think I had that on there.
Remember when I asked you how the Monday Mommy came about?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you put it then and it's been there the whole time and I just noticed it. Okay. Got it.
You know what? It's okay. Yeah. It's been a long day.
It's been a long off season. I'm absolutely exhausted. This is my last pod of the off season, and then I get like 3 days. I get like 3 days off until we start week 1. But I'm, it's been a very, very long. For some reason, this off season feels more grindier than all of them. Maybe I don't know. I guess because I'm in a different role, I have a lot more work. But it's just been It's been crazy. I would love like a 3-day vacay. Refresh, like to sit on a beach somewhere before starting week 1, but that's not happening. So in my dreams.
Exactly. You can just go lay in the bathtub and like listen to ocean sounds with some like beach scent thing going on and just ignore your husband and child.
That would be nice.
Thank you, Josh, for making your last pod of the off season our last show of Women of Fantasy Football and the last spot.
Absolutely. I'm glad you guys had me. I really are we wrapping up or are we just saying that anyway?
Oh, I was just saying that.
Oh, okay. I'm excited to be here. I mean, I've never actually spoken to either of you, but we've definitely interacted many a time, but not face to face.
Yes.
I didn't. I unfortunately did not make the expo this year. Every year I say I would love to beg Bob and all the other people to have it any other weekend except like when it is. It's such a hard time because it's like school's about to start, the season's about to start. Like, why don't we have it in like March in like Vegas and everyone can just hang out and it's not, like I understand that there's drafts going on but I'm like, why is it in August? Why is it in the worst possible time of year? And every year I'm
Hall
like,
of Fame weekend.
I know, but every year I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then once it gets closer, I'm like, I can't. Somebody has to work, and I just can't make it. And I got to get my kid ready for school. And it's just a really, really difficult time for me. But maybe next year I'll make it and I can hang out with you guys and be on the women panel.
Yes. That would be amazing. And also, I keep throwing this out there. They have the King's Cup Championship. Oh my gosh. I'm getting this. I cannot avoid this call.
Is it Fabiano again?
Awkward time. It's Fabiano again. Work
Apparently
emergency.
That's okay. Faith and I can talk.
Thank you.
We'll see you later, Kelly.
All right, look at her.
So, Jen, while I have you here, since Kelly has left, Rendon has a question, and we're going to bring up this question. Rendon would like you, I say you because I don't do rankings, or analysms. That's not a word, but I just made it up. As an editor, I can make words up, so what I do. Yeah. So, Rendon would like to know your thoughts on his team. It's a 10-team half PPR. He has Hurts, Williams, Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, Pittman, Schultz, and in his flex, he has Etienne and Chase Edmonds. He also has Renfro and Kirk as his other wide receivers. What do you think of that lineup?
I like it. I don't. I assume that's Javonte Williams. I like it. I think in PPR, I think you're good with Diggs and Pittman and Schultz. Awesome. For half PPR. I'm sorry, it's half, but either way, good stuff. Etienne and Edmonds, I like. I'm big on Edmonds this year, so I like that for your flex. I think either of those. I think you're going to have actually a hard time deciding which one of those two to play every week in the flex. And one of those may even be better than Javonte Williams, depending on what happens there. I'm not a huge Javonte Williams fan, but it's one of those things that can go either way, right? Williams is either going to be great or he's going to be in a 50-50 split, and you may end up starting one of those other guys over him. But overall, I think your team is good. I think you came away with good. And Renfro and Kirk are great. I like Kirk a lot. I think he's being undervalued. I mean, he's the clear wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. So, and he's pretty cheap. So, and I assume you probably got him for pretty cheap. So, yeah, I like your team. I think you can compete.
That's awesome. I don't know what Josh was reacting to, but I literally just watched Josh behind the screen go,
oh, something I said?
I have no clue. Perhaps it could have been, I don't know. But Campers has a question. Keep, trade, or cut. Rain sounds, ocean sounds, or static white noise?
I'm definitely cutting static white noise. Like, who likes that? No. I'd go ocean first. I'd keep ocean. I'm one of those weird people that hates rain. So I grew up in South Florida, where you get these crazy
rain a lot. Yep.
You get these crazy storms. I've always kind of hated it. And then I actually have this weird like PTSD situation going on because my basement flooded like 5 years ago. And my husband and I, so it rained so much. It doesn't rain a lot in Colorado, but one May it rained an insane amount that there was so much rain underneath our house that it was coming up through the cracks in our foundation in the bottom because it was so much underneath. It was crazy. So my husband and I, no joke, we had to get like a wet vac, and every 20 minutes we had an alarm go off. And this is through the night. One of us had to get up and vac the downstairs or it would have completely flooded. So through the night, every 20 minutes, one of us had to go downstairs, vacuum, go back up. We did that for 2 days. So, and that was like 5-6 years ago, but I still have this weird, like when it rains, I get this like anxiety freak out, even though we had all our pipes fixed and everything's fixed. So there you go, is a very long answer to your question. I would keep ocean, trade rain, and then cut white noise.
So speaking of white noise, I recently learned so there's white noise, but then there's also pink noise and brown noise.
Brown noise? That doesn't sound appealing.
Like they have different, so white noise, if I can recall, white noise is all of the frequencies at the same time, which is kind of why it's like a higher pitched. But pink noise and brown noise are different frequencies on the lower end, so they're not as like harsh. It's really strange. You'll have to look it up sometimes.
Yeah, I did that.
They're actually a lot more soothing. Brown noise is not awful.
This is definitely a new. This is new information for me. I've never heard of either of those things. I will have to check it out.
No,
I'm not putting these categories.
That's what we here at Women of Fantasy Football are all about, enlightening you and informing you, whether it's about football or different colored noises, which just sounds weird. Oh, Carrington. Jen, so backstory before I show this question. Club Fantasy, who is parent to Women of Fantasy Football, there is a general consensus among two of our analysts, our main analysts, one named Ryan and the other one named Josh, who are very, very anti Cole Kmet. And then a lot of our other rankers are, there's heated debates. So Carrington needs to know, what are your thoughts on Cole Kmet?
You know, I'm in the middle. Like, I'm certainly not passionate for or against, put it that way. Like, I think he's fine for where he's being drafted. I think that, that offense could still really suck. And I think that there's not a lot of weapons there. So in PPR, I think he's all right for where he's being drafted. But I'm not like on this big bandwagon that he's going to have this breakout top 5 tight end season. No, I think he's going to be exactly where he's being drafted. He's going to end up in the middle. He's fine as a starter, tight end 9, 10, 11, whatever, something like that. That's I feel like his price is worth where he is. I don't see him completely outproducing and being this crazy breakout. I also don't think he's going to suck. I just, like I said, somewhere in the middle.
He's just mediocre.
Yeah, he's all right. He's a starter. And that's not saying much because tight end is pretty crappy. So, but yeah, I think he's worth drafting where he is being drafted.
That is a perfect assessment of Cole Kmet.
Cool.
You didn't gain ire from either side. Josh says he can accept that answer.
Okay.
Mostly because you didn't give Cole Kmet a raving review.
Right.
That's why Josh can accept it.
Okay.
Jen, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for giving us the pleasure of being your last pod for the off season. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find your work.
Yeah, my work is at 4for4.com. I have a ton. I will be writing, I think, 5 or 6 articles a week. And then every Tuesday night, I will be on TMAP, which is the most accurate podcast, every Tuesday night. And so basically all 4for4 all the time. You can also find some of my stuff on Yahoo, actually, but it's going to be the same stuff that's on 4for4. They're just going to repurpose on Yahoo this season as well.
That is
and you can also find me on Twitter at the Monday Mommy, which is right there.
Thank you, Josh, for displaying that for us. Appreciate you. It's our assistant, Josh, our fabulous assistant. Jen, have a great couple of days relaxation on your off season. Before NFL starts, college football starts. So I just have 2 words to say there, and that's go Dogs.
Yep, always.
Jen, it was such a pleasure meeting you. I'm sorry I had to duck out there for a few minutes, but I really am inspired by your story, and it makes me feel not so alone as an aging woman. That friendship. It was great. I really loved it.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. It was wonderful to chat and hang out with you guys. I totally understand Kelly taking that call. Listen, when something like that happens, it has to, definitely takes precedence over me sitting there talking about whatever it is I'm talking about.
It's just here in Phoenix. Well, it's still, we started the show at 4:00 and I was still working. Just a fire drill kind of day.
I hear you. Now I have to go make some dinner for my family. So that's, part of the deal here because it's only 6:30 here where I am. But you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of, I guess, the off season for the next couple of days too.
Thank you, Jen, so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. That was so amazing. I don't want it to ever end. I mean, there is a possibility that we'll have a bonus episode. I am working on that, but the bonus episode would be recorded, everybody. But still, you would want to tune in and see it. I don't want to tease it out too much because I can't promise it, but it is something I'm working on.
Speaking of things that, never mind. Nope. Wasn't even going to finish that thought. Nope. I'll say it to Josh later. Speaking of Josh. Hi! Why?
I don't even want to know where that was going. I'm just gonna leave it be.
Speaking of things that teasing can't finish.
Wow. Wow. That hurts.
Snap. That was hardcore.
That was rude. Like, ouch.
Listen,
All
I
right.
only say it to those I love.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am here to give away
things
some jerseys.
away.
Yeah. So
It looks like Josh Allen is up for no.
No, this is not Josh Allen.
I saw Dennis's name and I was like, this is not Josh Allen.
Dennis won the Josh Allen jersey last year, so he said, "You know what? I'm just gonna go and win another jersey this year."
So there are 42 entries for this Larry Fitzgerald jersey.
Dennis has
20 of them are his.
Killing me. Just killing me. Like, I'm grateful that he continues to donate, but at the same time, it's like, come on, bro. Like, give some other people a chance here.
Hey, if they want to drop the same kind of coin.
I mean, you are not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong.
I'm never wrong.
So the first thing I want to say is with these raffles this week, we're giving away a signed Josh Allen Bills jersey, as previously mentioned, and this wheel that you're looking at right now. This is for the signed Larry Fitzgerald Cardinals jersey. This week we closed out with $695 raised.
Yay.
Which brings our total
one ticket from 700.
Yeah.
One ticket. But what's our total, Josh?
Just this week, between our GoFundMe, which we have going on, which I'll get a little bit more into that later, and plus the raffles, we've raised an additional $1,070. Now, if anybody remembers what my stretch goal was at the very beginning of this and what my realistic goal was $2,500 raised over the course of these 4 weeks. My stretch goal was $3,000, including the GoFundMe and these raffles over the last 4 weeks. Grand total, we have raised $3,005.
Woo!
So I
Beat that
cannot
by $5.
thank all of you enough for your generosity and every dollar that you guys have donated. This is going to make so many women so happy. And with the tragedy in the GALvanized family that struck earlier today, I know when I text Laura a little bit later, she's just going to be sending me a whole bunch of heart emojis. I kind of don't want to bother her right now because she's going through stuff. So that being said, let's give away a Larry Fitzgerald jersey. So as you can see, Dennis on there quite a bit. There's a lot.
20 times.
But hey, you know what? It's anybody's game.
It
so
is.
Let's see who wins. Well, what do you know?
Oh,
what do you freaking know?
Close, Wendy.
Well, Dennis, congratulations on yet another win.
When I texted him earlier, he sent me back a screenshot of his tickets. He's like, I'm at an uneven number of jerseys.
Oh, this is true. So now he's at even 6. He's won 3 every time we've done this. So, Dennis, kudos. I'm happy for you and also insanely grateful because you have donated a lot of money to this. Mm-hmm. Not just what we've done this year with GALvanize, but also last year.
The last 2 years.
To the Women's Sports Foundation. So, next up,
the Big Daddy.
This is for
Josh Allen.
Signed.
Look at all those names in there.
Allen.
So many names I recognize. Carrington, Chris Molina, Gemmo, our darling friend Kate Majuk.
Who spelled her name incorrectly.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. I'm like, who spelled her name
I just copied
wrong?
and pasted, so I didn't think to correct that. So Kate, learn how to spell your own name. And the big ticket purchase here I will say it was from our buddy Gemmo, who's in the chat. He purchased 31 tickets for a chance to win this Josh Allen.
31. Like, it's such a
boy.
So for those,
not 30,
for those
not
that don't know
35,
how to do math,
31.
$155 towards trying to win this Josh Allen jersey. He loves his quarterbacks because if you remember, he won the signed Joe Montana jersey during the first week.
That we gave him live in person at the Expo.
At the Expo, correct. So here we go.
Oh,
we have a new winner. Carrington.
So close, Chubbo.
Carrington. Our good buddy Carrington. Oh, wow. Faith just like ducked out. Okay. She didn't want to say congrats to Carrington. I see how it is. Carrington, congratulations, my man. One of our frequent listeners on No Punt Intended. Faith, you popping back in here? You good? You got it?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, as I mentioned in the pregame, so to speak, we have a
Josh has a surprise that he wouldn't even tell me or Kelly and I quote, I don't want you to ruin the surprise, which means Josh didn't trust us.
Well,
but anyway,
it's not so much that I didn't trust you. I just wanted to do something fun. Okay. And this is my way of doing something fun. So as many of you know that are, watching this often, we have a lot of repeat winners, right? Like, Dennis buys a lot of tickets. He's won 3 jerseys each of the past 2 years. Josh Jacobs not only won this year, he won a couple last year. So what I wanted to do was do something for many of the people that are buying tickets all the time, but don't have maybe the funds to
buy 30?
bully their way into winning these things. So this is me giving back and saying how much I appreciate all of you. So what I have here, this wheel is a list. It's one person each. There's no duplicates. Everybody that has donated in this year's raffles that has not won a raffle. And I'm going to give away not one, but 2 signed jerseys from my own personal collection.
And who are they, Josh?
So the first one that I'm going to give away, simply because, we do fantasy sports and sports gambling and things like that. And I think all of us believe that this individual got a bit of a bad rap. I'm going to give away a signed Calvin Ridley Falcons jersey. So let's see who wins.
Maybe it'll be our resident Falcons fan.
We have a couple resident Falcons fans in this raffle. So
it's true.
Chris Jameson, congratulations, buddy. I'm sending you a signed
Calvin Ridley jersey.
What I'm also going to do, let's see, where'd he go? I should have just hit remove. That's what I should have done. Now I gotta freaking find his name. There it is. All right. Now the next one, he just recently came back to practice.
Tom Brady?
I'm giving away a signed Darren Waller Raiders jersey. So somebody's going to be, a couple people are getting lucky here. And again, this is just me saying thank you because you guys donate a lot of money and you help a good cause. And I'm all about that. Hey, look at that. One of our writers
Zach
just won a signed Darren Waller jersey. So congratulations, Zach. So that was my big surprise. That's what I wanted to do. And I just wanted to say thank you because as I mentioned, our stretch goal was $3,000 to raise. All of this money goes into the scholarship fund that we've set up with GALvanize and Laura Oakman, and we're still planning out how we want to divvy up the money, whether it's doing one big bulk scholarship, doing a few different tiers to help different people and do different things. But at the end of the day, we're going to be able to help a lot of women with $3,000. And that really is the ultimate goal of everything that we do here at Women in Fantasy Football. So I have all your addresses, thankfully, from donating through the last few raffles. So I will get these jerseys sent out. Kelly, Faith, I can't thank you enough for holding it down for us on Wednesday nights while you give Joe, Ryan, and myself some time off. So I'm just going to duck out and say thank you, and I'll let you ladies close the show. So thank you much. Appreciate you.
Oh, it's bittersweet. I feel like we should still like come together once a month or something, just and have like a chit chat and bring back all our friends.
Yes, I agree.
That'd be fun.
Girl, can we just start a podcast called Girl Talk?
Why not? Why not?
We should.
We do what we want.
We do what we tell the boys.
You know, I want to thank you so much for asking me to be your co-host. I have really enjoyed getting to know you this year, spending time with you, going to Vegas.
Yes.
You know, I appreciate everything that you do for Club Fantasy behind the scenes. And sometimes I feel like I'm just hanging out and getting to soak in all of the I don't know, all the good stuff, but I'm so honored and happy to be a part of it.
Thanks, friend. I'm glad you said yes. I'm glad you joined us. We love stepmom Lauren, but she's a very busy woman, and I know you are busy as well, especially with the new role that you took on over at TrophySmack. So I want to thank you for agreeing to do it. Thank you for giving up an hour of your workday for the last 4 weeks to join us to host with me. We are very different people with very different personalities, and sometimes we talk over each other and sometimes we flow well. So I just want to thank you for being you and for the amount of knowledge that you bring to the table.
Oh, thank you.
Aww.
I think overall it was a good flow, good back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I love how planned you are, and then I think that's a great strength. And then mine is kind of just like jumping in. I don't know.
Speaking of jumping in,
that piqued my interest.
Speaking of jumping in, my favorite part is Kelly is on our Club Fantasy Writers chats. And other than myself, Kelly and Kira, wow, Josh. What is happening? Up. Other than myself, Kelly and Kira, it's like all dudes. And so sometimes it can be a real pissing contest about my opinion's better. No, my opinion's better. And so then sometimes Kelly just pops in and is like, I'm having popcorn for lunch.
It's either that or it's like, I hate all of you.
Yeah. She'll either come in with like a random fact or she'll come in and like yell at them like mom. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. Fantastic. And then she'll pop in and she's like, I'm talking to so-and-so about DFS. And I'm like, yeah, but I got a DLF follow from this shirt.
That's so great. I love it. I really wanted to thank everybody who tuned in, whether this was your first episode or you were with us all 4 weeks. If you didn't catch the first 3 episodes, do tune in and take a look at those. And I didn't mean to say there is never any more content about women after August. I just meant this series in particular is over. So do subscribe because there is additional content that's coming and content you may have missed.
Yes. Like she said, subscribe. There's who knows what's on the horizon. We don't. I mean, we could decide to do our Girl Talk podcast or we may not, but you won't know until we know. So we like to keep you on your toes. So stick around. And also, I like to harass them, but Josh, Joe, and Ryan are amazing. They will be back next week with no pun intended as we get ready to start the NFL season. They are all 3 fantastic dudes. They are fantastic champions for women in sports. We couldn't do what we do without them in various roles. Like Laura Oakman says, we are nothing. That's not true. We are stronger with the men behind us who support us, and that's 100% certain of Women of Fantasy Football. We are stronger with not only Josh, Ryan, and Joe behind us, but the entire group of writers at Club Fantasy there. Every single one of them are in our corner and willing to go to bat for us, and we appreciate that immensely. And they also know when to just step back because they know we've got it handled. And I appreciate that too.
Me too.
So, for 2022, for the very last time, before we say goodbye until 2023, Kelly, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Kelly in Phoenix, and that's where I share most everything that I'm working on. I have a super exciting project that will be launching. I haven't told anybody, not even Faith. So stay tuned, because with the start of the football season, you may be seeing my face a little bit more on your screens.
Oh, that's exciting. So I am Faith at FF_Leap of Faith. You may not see my face or my work prevalent. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of editor kind of person. But who knows? We may end up with a podcast. Who knows? Ooh. Speaking of podcasts, speaking of women in fantasy football, speaking of content that we have that includes women, if you were at the expo or if you watched the panel of the expo, we had Britt Flynn on the panel. And if you noticed, Britt and Kelly and some of the guys wearing shirts that say her story in the making, that is because Britt, we are teaming up with her and Fantasy Alarm to bring you Britt's podcast, Her Story in the Making. We are aiming for an October launch. So keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, because that is not something that you want to miss. So for the last time in 2022, have a great week. The NFL season is almost here. Good luck in your fantasy teams if you're still drafting this weekend. I know I have one last draft. And then I have a best ball draft, and it's stressful. But good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor, and have a great week.